So today's webinar on Stotras and Samskaras, I'm glad to be hosting with Hindu University of America. I'm Ankur Patel, Director of Advancement for HUA, and our two panelists today are Shri Aswaji and Acharya Mrutyunjay Trivedi. Namaste, welcome.
Namaste.
Right, we have an audience from around the world joining us. Somnaji from Kingston, Canada, Subaji from New Jersey, Chituji from Columbus, Ohio, Himanshi from Chicago, well, maybe originally from India, from Chicago, but currently in India. Glad to have you on with us today. There's a poll going on. Please let us know if this is your first webinar, if you've a regular, if you've attended before, and if you're enrolled in programs, courses. And let me, while you fill out that, let me introduce our topic today. Kind of an interesting combination of stotras and samskaras, right? Fundamental ideas in dharmic beliefs and traditions in Hinduism. And samskaras, as revealed in the Vedas, are milestones in a person's life that hold sacred importance, right? The samskaras subconsciously leave impressions in people's minds, which build their characteristic behavior and perception of the world. So in this webinar, we're going to look at those 16 major samskaras known as the Shodashana samskaras, how they are celebrated, the rituals that are performed, and most importantly, the reasoning behind them. And that's what we're really into, right? Not just the ritualistic nature, but what is the depth and meaning behind them. And so to dig into that, we're going to have Shri Aswaji. And in addition to that, we're also going to dive into the stotras, which are chants of praise, right, in the glory of Hindu bhagwans, gods, goddesses, deities, that are used in worship. And we're specifically going to go into the Lalita Sahasranamam stotra, contains 1,000 names of Hindu goddess, Sri Lalita Tripura Sundari, right, a manifestation of the divine mother Shakti. So these two topics kind of in parallel, but very key, right, in terms of Vedic scholarship, their manifestations, how they're applied. And so we're glad to bring together, I think this is the first time these two faculty are on a webinar together, Shri Aswaji and Acharya Mrutyunjay Trivedi for this special webinar. Thank you for joining us. We've also got a few more people joining us. Hari Om Ashwinji, thank you for joining. Vaishaliji from Minnesota. Let me end this poll and show you the results just so you see who else is on. We have almost 70, 80 people with us today. Most of you filled out the survey. You can take a quick look at that. And so as we get into this webinar, let me just give a brief introduction, and both of our faculty are going to take about 10 minutes, you know, to generally present their idea, and then we'll engage with each other and then take on questions, introduce the respective courses that our faculty are teaching, and, you know, have one of our weekly HUA webinars that are, I'm so glad to be hosting this one in particular today. So let me introduce Acharya Mrutyunjay Trivedi. He actually comes from Uttar Pradesh, India. He, I think maybe, 3-4 years ago, came to the States and has been serving as the priest, the guru, the Swami at that mandir in Lancaster, in northern Los Angeles County. His love for Sanskrit languages and scriptures comes from a young age. He holds a Master of Theology degree in Dharma Shastra from Sampurnand Sanskrit University in Kashi in Varanasi. And he's just so amazing, and I've seen his development, and learning English is not easy. You know, I was lucky enough to be born into it, but since he's been here, he's already got that depth of Hindu knowledge, of scriptures, of Sanskritam, and now coming to Los Angeles and being able to apply that, I'm so glad that he is part of HUA faculty. So that's Acharya Ji Mrutyunjay Trivedi. And joining us, of course, is Shri Aswaji. And he's retired in India. He had a whole career on the County Board of Development Disabilities in Ohio, but it's his academic background, and not just in physics, mathematics, law, and computer sciences. It's his background as a Vedic scholar and his training in Sanskritam all the way back to his grandfather, Sri MSS Shastriji, that he's been, this is his dharma. I feel like this is part of the mission that we're on, and maybe whatever career he had in the past, he has been teaching Veda and Vedanta to students since 1995, and he continues to teach. And again, HUA is glad and proud to have him as one of our faculty. We're assembling so many brilliant minds, so many capable faculty and academics to then share this knowledge in whatever way that you, our audience, our students, our supporters are interested in. And so with that, let me just give a shout out to Swami Nathanji from Bangalore, Hariji, Greg Miller. Thank you for joining us. And with that, let me start us off. I think it'll be good to start off with the samskaras, right? That's kind of like the overall the angle. So Sri Aslaji, I didn't even know what the details of the samskaras were until I started working at Hindu University of America. So that kind of background, especially for our first time guests, we have almost 16 people who are joining us for a webinar for the first time, but they have a whole range of understanding. So please lead us through this, and then we'll continue on the webinar. Thank you.
Let me start with a Shanti mantra, which we usually do whenever we discuss these topics. And please forgive my voice. I'm just recovering from a little sickness. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you so much, Ankurji. I'm so delighted to be with you again. And the last time we met, we were actually in person in Florida, and look forward to see you again. And I do come to Los Angeles also in my next visit to Los Angeles. I look forward to meet with Acharyaji. So first topic you suggested was on the samskaras. The word samskara, let's start with the etymology of the word samskara itself. It samyak karoti iti, samskaroti iti, that means that which is an attempt to make a person perfect, to make a thing beautiful, and then to making it something useful. So there are three important components in the process of samskara. One is to make it as perfect as we can. And secondly, to beautify it, because it can be perfect, but it need not necessarily be beautiful. So you also aesthetically, you bring the beauty of a person. And then it's also making that person useful to himself, his family, and his society. So why samskara is even required? Why should this process should happen? Because generally it is said that the man is a pinnacle of God's creation, who is already made perfect, who is already beautiful, and who is already useful. So why go through the samskara once again? It is our sages have identified that a person is born crude. The person is born uncultured. Janmana jayate shudraha. Everybody is born as a shudra. And samskarat dvijavachyate. The person gets a second birth. Dvija means second birth by means of samskara. Then this samskara gets beautified by Vedadhyayanato Vipraha. A person becomes beautiful in personality by means of studying the Vedas. And then finally, he actually becomes useful to the society by showing to the society the highest goal of life, which is Atmajnana. So Brahma with Brahmana Smritaha. One who knows Brahman is called the Brahmana, not by birth. And this concept of samskara is also universal. In fact, every object in the world must be subjected to samskara. For example, you cannot use any of the metals which are in ore form whether it is gold, silver, or copper. So what do? We mine it and then we purify it. Gold is very, very precious and very pure by itself, but it is contaminated in its environment. So we have to actually purify that, and then also we bring it into a proper shape. And similarly, we have to wait on a tree for a fruit to be ripened. And until the fruit is ripened, it is not edible. It's not edible, and you cannot enjoy it. And even animals we tame, we do some skara. For example, an elephant we tame, a horse we tame. So this is basically the purpose of samskara to make it perfect. So what is the end game? What is the end result? That's after a person has gone through few of the samskaras, especially the childhood samskaras, by the time he comes to his educational samskaras, we expect that that child has been trained in the 8 moral values. That's also a samskara. It is the Gautama Dharma Sutra. Of course, this is a speciality of Acharya Ji. Gautama Dharma Sutra actually says that Daya Sarvabhuteshu Kshantihi. First of all, there has to be merciful attitude, compassionate attitude towards all living beings. There has to be tolerance, anasuya. One has to be free from envy and jealousy. Shaucham, there has to be purity, physical, emotional, in speech, and then there has to be calmness. Samskara should make a person very peaceful and calm and contained and controlled. Then he must create what is auspiciousness, mangalam, and then he should be free from greed, akarpanyam, and then he should not appropriate things for himself, aspruheti. So this is the 8 important qualities are actually to be cultivated through these samskaras. So with this introduction, let us pause and see if there are any questions. And before we get into the kinds of samskaras.
See one Q&A. Yeah, the recorded webinars will be available to everyone who attends. We can send it out. Thank you, Rakeshji. And Shishi Asoji, I know there's 16 samskaras. Each one is a essay and can go long. So let's try to give just a thumbnail so we can get to Acharya Ji Trivedi. But yes, good background. I appreciate that.
You may recall that we had a 1 whole hour on Saptabari. One aspect of the wedding, we spent a whole hour on that. So, and as you rightly said, this is a huge, there's a huge area. But even then, we have many samskaras. We can actually have 48 samskaras, 64 samskaras. So depending on how much granularity is required, so what samskaras are there, but basically it always reduces to the 16 as you mentioned. We can classify the samskaras into the childhood samskaras that happens until such time a child is ready for knowledge, education, and then we have got the householder samskaras, educational samskaras, then we have householder samskaras, also called the grasta samskaras, and then finally, of course, when the mortal body falls, there is the antyeshti, the end samskaras that happen. So in childhood, again, we have to contextualize as to what is practical in the present days. So there are many samskaras which have become obsolete or which are, it's not possible to practice some of the samskaras. Also with the changing ethos in Hinduism, sometimes we have got to fine tune the samskaras also. So, and that flexibility is given in Dharma Shastra. So at least I would strongly recommend that we know even though we don't have to go to all the 16 samskaras, there are some samskaras which I strongly recommend that every family follow with full knowledge. And first and foremost is the birth ceremony. This is called the Jata Karma. In the Jata Karma ceremony, what happens? It is we have to welcome a jiva, a particular entity called the jiva, who is a product of the union of man and woman, but the union of man and woman can produce only the body. Whereas the mind and the vasanas are the various attitudes that that particular child brings goes back to several iterations of the birth of the child. So therefore, we introduce that child to the family and say, no matter whatever was your past birth, here you are taking a new birth. In this new birth, you are going to become a human being evolving into a divine being. So that is the philosophical essence of Jata Karma. Then the next one is Namakarana, or the naming. So why should any name be given to anybody? Though universally we do that for the sake of identification. The Vedantic perspective is whenever there is any form, rupa, then it has to have a name or a nama. And the nama, whatever name you give, that name should be an anvarthanama. Anvarthanama means an appropriate name. For example, let me take the liberty, Ankurji, of taking your name. So you are given the name Ankura. Ankura means that which sprouts. So the very name that you have given is that you are sprouting goodness, you are sprouting intelligence, you are sprouting wisdom, you are sprouting the fragrance of your personality all around you. So therefore, when the Namakarana is done and a name is given, it is an indication for the family and later on for the individual to become fit for that name. So that is an important samskara where the name is the vision of the parents as to how their child should evolve to be. Then we have the first feeding or annaprashana. After all, we live by eating. So why annaprashana gets such importance? It is because in the Upanishads, there is a whole algorithm of what happens with food. Annena prana. By means of eating food, you give life force to that person. Pranair balam, gets strength. Up to now, very intuitive. You eat, you become strong. Balena manaha, with that you get control on the mind. When the control on the mind is manasa, tapaha, the person is able to contemplate. When there is contemplation, tapasa, shraddha, dedication and commitment comes. Shraddhaya, medha, from that you get intellect. Medhaya, manisha, analytical ability, wisdom. And manishaya, manaha, total mastery on the mind. Manasa, shanti, then a person gets peace with this background. Then the Upanishad says, Tasmat annam dadan yedani sarvani dadati. By just giving food, you give all of these things to the recipient of the food. So not only in the Annaprashana, we are setting in motion the series of psychological and physical growth of the child. It is also telling ourselves it is not just gluttony. We look at food as sacred, as something that sets in motion all these. And of course, there are various mantras. We will go in the course as we discuss that. Then you have Chudakarana. Chudakarana, which is the tonsure that is given to the child. So why cut the hair of the child? The philosophical significance is that there are lot of how much ignorant I am, the extent of ignorant, if I can put a number on that, my units of ignorance is as many hairs I have got on my head. So how do you deal with each one of them? You cannot take one strand of hair, map it to one idea of ignorance, and then correct it. Many lifetimes are not enough for that. So what we do is, with one jnana giving, you are actually the very embodiment of Brahman. By telling that child, you cut off all the hair. That way, in one stroke, all the ignorances that were there carried forward from the previous births are cleansed. That's a samskara process. Another important samskara is the Aksharabhyasa or Vidyarambha, where we introduce the alphabet. And the Sanskrit alphabet is actually, every alphabet represents not only a particular devata, that's why they are called matrukas. Each alphabet, Sanskrit alphabet, is called matruka. And not only that, every letter, every word that we actually utter or study or write, it is called the representation of Ishvara. So that value and the respect for knowledge is important. And of course, Upanayana Samskara is there, starting studies with the teacher and acquiring eligibility to perform Vedic rituals. And I am a strong advocate of the Upanayana Samskara given to everybody without any reservation or without any withholding, including there's nothing wrong, nothing is prohibited in ancient Dharma Shastras that we should not do Upanayana to certain classes or to women. That's another change that is happening. And I have also been an agent of that change in that. And then that should continue to happen so that more and more people get into the Vedic studies. Because all Vedic studies is a samskara for the mind. So I ask the fundamental question, what gender is the mind and what caste is the mind? And therefore, we have got to open up this wisdom to one and all. Traditionalists might object to this, but then my vision for this is to preserve this sacred knowledge. Because if you look at society, those who are empowered by birth are going away from this knowledge. And then we deny those who are not empowered. So what happens to the knowledge ultimately? So we have got to make it available. This is my personal opinion. That's about Upanayana Samskara. Then, of course, we have another extraordinary samskara called the Samavartana. And this, in the Samavartana, it is the counseling done by the teacher for the graduating student before taking up householder and public life. So various values, such as you continue to study, whatever you have studied, you teach, respect your mother, respect your father, respect your fellow beings, respect those who come to your house as your guests. If you have any doubt as to how you should conduct yourself, look in the society, people who are leading noble life. Make them as your role model. Such instructions are given in the presence of sacred Agni in this in this particular ritual called the Samavartana. So these are the educational samskaras. I can take a pause here before we get into the household samskaras, if there are any questions.
There are quite a few questions, right? Matrika is kind of like the alphabet, the essence. I was looking it up. What and each Devanagari script or whatever script you're using has many layers to it. I was thinking like we should have a blog on this. We should write about this. We should have graphics that's easy to share and be able to again share and explain, like you're saying. The first, I think you said you did the initial ones, the educational ones, and then there's household ones. maybe we're already at 9:25, Acharya Ji hasn't gotten a time to go. So there's maybe just by category. So there's those initial samskaras, there's the household samskaras. We mentioned the weddings, right? We did a whole 1 hour just on the wedding. So there's all the way to the funeral, right? The transition samskaras. So maybe just a big overview, and then we can hand it to Acharya Ji.
Sure. The Vivaha, it is a very special passage, and Vivaha again. I do welcome everybody to see our video on Saptapadi, where we have gone in depth on Vivaha. Then we have also and then they will continue the various rituals, the Vedic rituals, which is again my course in April. This spring, I'll be teaching the introduction to Vedic rituals, and all those Vedic rituals are addressed both to the householder as well as to the student. So we will have a detailed course of from Nitya, daily rituals, Naimittika, occasional rituals, and then the rituals that are very specially to be done because of certain occurrences. So the Antyeshti is actually a havan or a homa that is done by the departed person. So a very interesting question arises: how can that person who has already died can do a homa himself or herself? So for that, the karta, or the person who is actually performing the last rites in the name of the departed person, offers the body of the departed in a homa, in an ultimate homa, and then that is how the jiva is liberated. In fact, the way in which the mantras actually go in very brief is the 5 elements from which the body has been made is returned to the 5 elements. And what is remaining is that knowledge that the jiva has acquired, by which all ignorance has been removed. Samasta moha mahimaliye parabrahmani. And that soul merges with the universal is the Antyeshti. So a word about what has the samskaras down the ages, what has it accomplished? Has it accomplished anything in the centuries of its practice and existence? It has actually helped in the refinement and purification of human life in general. Because even those who have observed the samskaras without knowing all of that, just like if a person has got headache and he takes an analgesic, the headache goes, and he need not know the pharmacology of the tablet. Just like that, the samskaras have refined and purified the human life. It has facilitated the development of a personality, especially in the educational samskaras. In Upanayana, you tell the child to respect the teacher. So transmission of knowledge becomes easy when there is love of the student by the teacher and the respect of the teacher in the student. Then it has imparted a sanctity and the importance for the human body itself. We consider this body as shariram khalu dharma sadhanam. This body is for the sake of maintaining dharma, and ultimately the samskaras have prepared the person for a happy exit from this mortal life. I know we are running out of time.
No, that was beautiful. That was such a good ending, and really encapsulated what the samskaras are about. A happy ending to this life. Wow. But we still only halfway through this webinar. Thank you for getting into that. So do samskaras apply to all? Hindus, non-Hindus, people from all over the world? That's a question from Turunaji before we transition to Acharyaji.
Yes. We have, for example, in Christianity, we have the baptism, which is akin to Jatakarma Namakarana. So, and Vivaha is very, very common everywhere. And we have ideas like Bar Mitzvah, where the Jewish community initiates the child to scriptural studies. Yes, this is a human need, but but at this risk of oversimplification, I would say that the sophistication that Hinduism has reached in the samskaras and the meaningful mantras that have been encoded, I have not seen personally any parallel anywhere else, and I am ready to learn if somebody can show me.
Wonderful. Okay, great. Thank you for that background on Samskaras. We'll get into some more questions after Acharyaji Mrityunjay Trivedi goes into the Lalita Sahasranama Stotra. And this is part of it, right? You have these broad arcs and important places and timings and transitions in life, but we have these stotrams that dig deep and explain, and across the Hindu world, we have so much of this. So Acharyaji, why don't you take that as a transition and present what you would like to and connect, and yeah, appreciate you being on and continuing this conversation.
Namaste everyone. Namaste Sri Ashwasti. With your and Ankurji's permission, please give me a permission to start. Thank you so much, Ankurji, for facilitating all the webinars. Such great energy that makes all the participants come together and learn something new. My great thanks to Sri Kalyanji, Sri Shindeji, and all the board members of HUA for giving me this opportunity to be a part of it and to teach. I will also do a small Mangala Charan, and then we will start from there. Ganga Taranga Ramaniya Jata Kalapam Gauri Nirantara Vibhushita Bhamabhagam Narayana Priyamanangamadapaharam Varanasi Purapatim Bhaja Vishwanatham. Sarvebhyo Namo Namaha. Ankurji, please allow me to share my screen so it would be a lot easier for all the participants to understand. Is it visible?
Yes, good.
So, namaste everyone. Today, after learning the sanskaras, it was a great pleasure, and this is my appeal to all that we need to do all these sanskars. Sometimes we are far away from India, sometimes we are very busy and all, but just that is why in Hindi university we have this course to learn, and not just the learn for our buddhi, not just the buddhi vyapar, our day-to-day life. If we apply these sanskars, then our kids, our new generation would be very, very, very much purified, and their mind and body would be able to accept whatever the good is here. So today we are going to learn a little bit of Lalita Sahasranamam, what this Lalita Sahasranamam is. So first we start from the topic or the name of Stotra is Lalita Sahasra Nam and Stotra. If you break it down, Lalita, the name Lalita is the name of one of the name of Divine Mother, and the particular meaning of Lalita, who is beautiful or who is full of compassion, who bestows the grace of the on the devotees. Word Sahasra, Sahasra meaning in number. If you count it in numbers, word Sahasra meaning 1000. But in this context, because it has only 1000 names of Divine Mother Lalita Mahaprabhu Sundari, that is why it is called Sahasra. And then Nam meaning the given name or the noun. And the last word, which is Stotram. Stotram word comes from the Stuti, which is the means the praise of Bhagwan. When we are so grateful for them and we are showing that how beautiful or how good or how Bhagwan has saved the devotees and all that praises. So that means the Stotram. Another meaning of Stotram is a source, because this entire composition has the 1000 specific name of Lalita Mahaprabhu Sundari. So that composition becomes Stotra of those Lalita Sahasranama. also means to describe something uncountable. For example, Yajurved or Yajurved, Tirtha, Purukha, Sahasrak, Sahasrapata, meaning the God who has 1,000 eyes and 1,000 legs. Does that mean is how a God can have 1,000 head but not 2,000 eyes? So the what this mantra is trying to say, God who has a countless form, who has countless and legs, meaning in so that's the 1,000 or let me turn. In this, we will see the small introduction. So all our Hindu scriptures or Stuti or Stotra, even the Gita, they come from, all the Prakarana Granthas, they have a main granth where they come from. So where do we find this Lalita Sahasranam? We find this Lalita Sahasranam Stotram in Brahmanda Puran. You may know that we have 18 different Puranas, which is written by Maharshi, Veda Vyasa. All those 18 Puranas are dedicated to particular deity or particular science or knowledge. So there is one Puran called Brahmand Puran, which specifically talks about this. So the last half of which is Uttar Maharshi Agastya asked one question to Devi. Who is Agastya?
Chayaji, I think you're having some audio issues. I think it's, yeah. Your connection might be having low, but it was hard to hear. Let's try again.
Okay, I'm not using the AirPods.
Yeah,
Is it
better?
Okay, so just the small introduction of Lalita Sahasranam, we find it in Brahmand Puran, the other half of Brahmand Puran, where Maharshi Agastya is talking to Sri Agastya, is talking to Hayagriva Rishi, and he has asked about this universe because that Brahmand Puran is specifically dedicated to the universe, how this everything is started, and that is where we find the multi-universe theory also. So then Hayagriva and who is Agastya Rishi has done a lot of work and research, and he was the first Rishi who climbed out from the Vindhyachal Parvat Shrinkhala and went into the southern part of India and got everybody connected. And he is the one who taught Lord Rama before the battle, before the final battle when he was going to do in the battlefield with the Ravana, and he's the one who went and taught him Aditya Hridaya Stotra, which is a very particular hymn to be victorious. So we find this Lalita Sahasranam is Brahmand Puran, and this Lalita Sahasranam is to be treated as a divine hymn, embodying the pure spirituality. It is not only the means of worship the Divine Mother, but it is also a document of the great philosophic and cosmic significance. This was the observation of Swami Chinmayananda, which is in the current time a very very current sage, and everybody has been following this Chinmaya mission also. The Lalita Sahasranam is a collection of 100,000 names that describes the qualities and characteristics of Devi Lalita Mahatripura Sundari, or the feminine aspect of divine. The hymn is often recited during worship to invoke the blessing and grace of goddess. So during this Lalita Sahasranam, which has this 1,000, a very specific information about the Lalita Sahasranam is that all other Sahasranam you see, like Vishnu Sahasranam, Shiva Sahasranam, Ganapati Sahasranam, you will find the names, many names are repeated. But in Lalita Sahasranam, there is not a single name which repeated. All 1,000 names are different to each other. Even some in this Stotra, some names are dedicated to describe Devi's avatar. Some Devi as a goddess Devi, Lalita Mahatripura Sundari in Saraswati form, in Bagla Mukhi or Dash Mahavidya form, and different forms. And the sum of other names will describe Devi as a Brahman. So these three aspects of the names in the Sahasranams are there. Lalita Sahasranam. Meaning and significance of Shri Chakra worship. Why I am bringing this Sri Chakra worship? Because it is very connected to each other. This topic, the Sri Yantra and Lalita Sahasranamam, is very much connected to each other's. So we specifically, when we practice something, when we get initiated, we get to know three main things. First is Yantra, the instrument, if you in the general language, if you call the mantra, and the tantra or the puja. What is the yantra? So the yantra is an instrument. For example, if you want to express something, we need some yantra. We need an instrument. We want to express different sounds. Then we need, for example, we have 7 swaras: sa, re, ga, ma, pa, dha, ni. But when we want to express those sounds, we need an instrument that can be, and that can be understood very powerfully. So that is why we have different instruments, sitar, sarod, all different instruments, just to play those sound and get their effect bigger. So in the same way, this yantra, you must have seen Sri Yantra in many different temples in front of goddess, or in front, in the form of Panchamula or Sphatik, or some of the devotees may have it in their home. But we don't really know the meaning, or how this is effect of the Sri Yantra. So the Sri Chakra, or Yantra and Chakra, is the same meaning, is a diagram composed of 9 interlocking triangles that surround a central point called the Bindu, or Sarvanandamaya Chakra. Through meditation and visualization, the Sri Chakra is considered to embody the divine power of Devi. So the way to express the sound, to express other energies, we have different instruments. To express the divine energy, the divine power of Lalita Mahatripura Sundari, we need to have, that is why we have this yantra, or this Sri Chakra, to express that energy. And it has the 9 different interlocking triangles, which we will see next slide. What is the mantra? In the mantra, it says, Mananat Trayate Yasya Saha Mantraha. By reciting something, by visualizing something all the time and again, Mananat Trayate Yasya Saha Mantra, which removes your fear, which makes you free from something, which takes away the misery, which takes away the pain, is the mantra. That is why we have different mantras, different sukta, which represents different wishes, different ambitions. For example, for swasthya, for better health, we do Mahamrityunjaya mantra. For better buddhi, we have Medha Sukta. So all those different mantra, that the Sri Vidya mantra. And why you may have heard this word called Sri Vidya. What is this Sri Vidya, and how it is connected to Lalita Sahasranamam? The Sri Vidya, what is the Vidya? Sa Vidya ya Vimuktaye. The Vidya is not something just you learn and pass the test and get the good job, and just like that. No, the Vidya which makes you free. Sa Vidya, Vidya is that. Sa Vidya ya Vimuktaye, which makes you free, from bondage of this sansar. So the Sri Vidya is also connected to Lalita Sahasranam. Why? The Sri is Lakshmi. You may also hear 2 words of Lakshmi, Sri and Lakshmi. So let me just quickly tell you what is the difference between Sri and Lakshmi. So Durghat Raj Kaj Sampadani Shakti Sri, and Laukik Raj Kaj Sampadani Shakti is Lakshmi. That is why Lakshmi is Chanchala. What is Durghat Raj Kaj Sampadani Shakti? Which is in the bank, which is saved somewhere, you don't have access right away, and you don't have in the pocket. And the Lakshmi which you have right now, that is why Lakshmi is Chanchala, but Sri is Sthir. So the mantra, so Sri Vidya, so Sri is Lakshmi, and the Vidya is the power, or is that jnana which we seek in this Lalita Sahasranam, or which we seek by reciting Lalita Sahasranam. We get Sri. It says the Lalita gives the bhog and moksha both. So that is why the Sri part of it gives us the bhog, all the pleasure, all the luxury which we want. And the Vidya, again, Vimuktaye, Vidya gives this knowledge, the ultimate knowledge of ourselves. So that the Sri Vidya mantra is the powerful mantra that is used to invoke the grace of divine Devi in the Sri Chakra worship. And it is believed to purify the mind and awakens one's spirituality or consciousness. What is the puja? This is the very famous topic, which our Acharya Ashwasji teaches in our Hindu university, that how do we perform the ritual, how do we do the puja? Because every household, every Hindu or every Indian household, some kind of, if they don't do, they just do the diya or some rituals we do. Some of them we know the meaning, some we don't. So that is why we have a course to that. So what is the puja? What is the puja is the another form of ritual, worship, sadhana, archana. So the Sri Chakra Puja is the ritualistic worship. Ritualistic, why? Again, want to connect to the yantra, because we have that yantra, because we have that instrument. So that instrument has to be played. It cannot express itself. You may have a better guitar, a very beautiful guitar, but if you don't know how to play it, if you don't know the chords, it is just the showpiece. So if the yantra is how is connected to Vidya, or how it is connected to puja, or how it is connected to the rituals, worship that involves offering various items to the Sri Chakra yantra, including flowers, incense, and holy water. The puja is typically performed by those who have undergone initiation into Sri Vidya tradition. If you have gotten into the tradition, or you have gotten the Sri Vidya or Sri Vidya Mahamantra, it is okay. But if it is not, that is why I have kept it here. You can start it from understanding what everything is, because before getting into any sadhana, any puja or any worship, we should know what we are doing. So this is the puja part of it, the yantra, mantra, and puja, which is also connected to Lalita Sahasranam or Bhagavati Lalitamba. In this slide, we see this is where the Sri Chakra comes, and this is what the Sri Chakra looks like. It can be different form, meaning it can be drawn, it can be, you can see the Meru Chakra, you can see the chakra in the flat form. So this is, as we mentioned earlier, this is 9 interlocking chakras together. This line and these 3 lines together is one chakra, the first chakra, which is called Trailokya Mohana Chakra. How the grace of Sri Chakra happens to Lalita Mahatripur Sundari is by reciting the Lalita Sahasranamam, by understanding the Lalita Sahasranamam, because it is not just the name of Devi. When you learn, it is Mooladharam Bhuja Rudha Panchavakras Samsita Ankushadi Praharana Varadadini Shevita. It all happens in the body. It says how the Mooladhara Chakra is connected to Madipur, Anahat, Vishuddhi, Agnya, and all that Vidya, that knowledge comes in Lalita Sahasranamam. In the Sri Chakra Sadhana, when you understood the Lalita Sahasranamam well, so this first, all three Vrat and this Bhupur makes a one chakra called Trailokya Mohan Chakra. If by reciting Lalita Sahasranamam, even if you haven't taken the initiation, if you well understood the Lalita Sahasranam or the meaning of Devi, the first chakra, if the grace of first chakra happens, the result of this, that what is the name of chakra is Trailokya Mohan Chakra. It gives us the power or our fame. It blesses us with the good fame. Whichever the work or the field we are, our fame becomes very, very much known. The second chakra, when we go into, it has all these chakra. If you see here, I have written some names like here, the all different Devi. And the another knowledge here, another point here, in Lalita Sahasranam we have 182 verses or shlokas, and exactly 182 other Devata and Devi comes with the Lalita Sahasranam, comes and invokes in the Sri Chakra, because Devi does not come alone, she comes with all the Parikara and Samudaya. That is why we have Chatusashti Yogini, that is why we have Matrika Devis, that is why we have Chakra Puja. So this is the entire family of Devi. So in the second chakra, when we see that is Sarva Asha Purak Chakra, this is all the 16 petals. Whatever our wish can be fulfilled by mastering this chakra. When we are doing the Antar Sadhana, this blesses us with all our ashas, all our wishes gets fulfilled. The third chakra is Sarva Sanshobhana Chakra. What is Sarva Sanshobhana? In here, Sarva Sanshobhana is if you also can remove the obstacles by praying to Devi. You also will have a power to remove any kind of problem or any kind of obstacle from your or other devotees or practitioners' path. After that, we see Sarva Artha Sadhak Chakra, this 16 angles, Trikonas. We have Sarva Artha, any kind of specific wish, not just for you, if you wish for anybody else. That is why if you see the great sadhakas or great sages, they have the power to bless someone else also. So that's Sarva Artha Sadhak Chakra. Then we have Sarva Saubhagya Chakra. What is the Saubhagya? Whatever the good for you. Sometime in our life we see something happens to us and we see, oh, I did not wish for this. It is not, sometimes we don't understand right away, but this is, if we have undergone this process, if we are in the sadhak process, we are learning the Sarita Sahasranamam, what will happen? Whatever the saubhagya for you, whatever the good for you will happen to you, it's called Saubhagya Dayaka Chakra. After that, we go Sarva Vigna Vinashak Chakra. If any kind of obstacles comes by performing the ritual, by performing the puja, they will be removed. Then we have Sarva Rog Hara Chakra. And in this Sarva Rog, if the devotees has any kind of disease, they can be diseaseful. And then we have Sarvanandamaya Chakra. And inside the Trikona, we have, that is where in the Trikona, Devi, all the weapons of Devi are worshipped, and the Devi comes and gives the bliss. That is the Vidya part of it. It comes all, that is why it gives the moksha and bhog and moksha. So in the Sarvanandamaya Chakra, that is when the Devi blesses the sadhak with ultimate bliss. Before that, in this first triangle, the very first triangle, all the Ashtasiddhi happens. Anima, Laghima, Cheva, Mahima, Garima, Tatha, Prapti, Prakamya, Ishitvam, Vashitvam, Chashta Siddhaya. All the devotees, all the practitioners are blessed, can be blessed by those Ashtasiddhi. If they go beyond that, then they can be blessed by the Vidya, they can be blessed by Sri Vidya, ultimate bliss. So this, I am going to stop the slide right here, and I would welcome if any questions till now, if we have, Ankurji, and then I'll move forward and conclude the session.
Great timing. And so both of our faculty here, Sri Sriyasaji and Acharya Mrityunjay Trivedi, are offering two different courses that both fit into our certificate program of Hindu studies. So, right, there's need for depth and clarity in Hinduism. And the only way to do that is through study, to understanding. And there's so many, again, even within each of these, right? One webinar where each faculty, sorry for trying to squeeze you into a short amount of time, but amazing the information and the level and the depth and the breadth that we have to offer. And in their courses over 10 weeks, starting in April, they're going to get into a lot more detail. If you haven't taken a course with us before, please consider this quarter. Let me launch a quick poll, right? Are you interested in enrolling in either of these two courses? Maybe some of you are already enrolled. The first one is for the Vedic ritual. That's a specific course Sri Aswaji is teaching. And the second one is for the Lalita Sahasranama Stotram, which is the course that Acharya Ji is teaching. And maybe that's a first question that comes up, right? Stotras, Stotram, Stotras, right? Shlokas, verses, right? How all the way to mantrika, right? Like the actual letter and how it's the way that these scriptures are built up. Maybe you could both take a chance at explaining that from your perspective and discussing that. So Acharya Ji first, or yeah.
Ashwas
So the question is on the stotra itself, am I right?
Yeah, and kind of differentiating what is a stotra, what is a stotranam, what is a shloka, what is a verse, like within the scope of our itihasa, a lot of us, especially us born here in America, don't understand. And these Sanskrit words,
yes,
you know all of that.
So basically, stotra, as Acharyaji already gave the etymology, is stu is stutau. It comes from the root stu. From that it is stotra. So in stotra, there is a classical definition of stotra: guninishta gunabhidhanam stutihi. Guninishta gunabhidhanam stutihi means whatever good qualities are there in a good entity. Whatever good qualities are there in a good entity. And that is highlighted. So when you highlight, then it becomes a stotra. And then there are three kinds of stotras, and shlokas are just constructions in the present context. Shlokas are just constructions of the of verses in Sanskrit set to a meter, and that meter can vary all over the spectrum. Hundreds of meters are used, but you will see that the most popular meter is the 32 syllable meter that we have is called the Anushtup Chandas. You will see a lot of shlokas that are written in Anushtup, 32 lettered shlokas divided into 4 parts are called padas. And the entire Ramayana, most of Mahabharata, most of Ramayana, most of the Puranas are all written in this shloka form. But within shloka, and in this shloka, there can be actually 3 kinds of acts that happen. First, we can call it as varnanatmaka or descriptive. So the shlokas or the stotras can become descriptive. In descriptive shlokas, Lalita Sahasranama to some extent falls into that category. You also have stotra, stuti, shloka such as Shivananda Lahari, Saundarya Lahari of Adi Shankara, where descriptions are given. How does the particular deity look like? So one of the most popular stotras is, for example, Shantakaram Bhujagashenam. In fact, a lot of people know that it is just describing how Mahavishnu is. So there can be shloka which can become stotra, and where the whole and attitude is to describe what we are talking about. Varnanatmakam. Then there is a second kind of shloka which need not be a stotra. It is philosophical. It is called Tattvatmaka literature. In Tattvatmaka literature, there are no descriptions. There is only actually a teaching. We have teachings such as the Nirvana Shatka, the Pratasmarana Stotra of or Dakshinamurti Stotra of Adi Shankara, in which embedded in this shloka stotra form, philosophy is conveyed. Then we also have instructional verses, instructional shloka, instructional stotras, where you say, you bhaja govindam, worship God, don't waste your time in ordinary mundane things. And so there are 3 important ways in which stotra can be constructed in the shloka form. And they are, as I mentioned, descriptive, instructional, philosophical.
Great. Thank you for that. Acharyaji?
There is very little to say now on the stotra because Sri Ashwathji has covered. This is the 3 different kinds or 3 different meanings which those slokas contains, for the guna anuvad, or give the instructions which says what to do and how to do, like puja vidhi. Those things are also written in the sloka, and that is also comes under the stotra. And stotra in general meaning the source also. So the source of these names, or source of the power, or source of that divine energy, that is also called stotra. For example, like the sun is the source of light or source of power. So that is how that stotra comes, which contains or which holds this energy of the feminine, all the any god's names under the like power form or divine form. We only can understand when we recite it, or not just recite it, when we know the meaning. It has a very, even in the Vishnu Sahasranam or Lalita Sahasranam, it has a very deep meaning into it. That is why Sri Kalyanji decided to have this course into 2 parts, because we cannot understand all the depth of the knowledge in the 1 part. So we have this Lalita Sahasranam in 2 part, part 1 and part 2. Part 1 we will be covering all 1 to 90 slokas, and the next part 90 to 182. And we also going to learn more about Sri Yantra. It is very little time to say. We just gone into how all 9 Navarana, but there are many different god and the source or the power which comes in the Sahasranam, and how it is, all the Vedanta perspective of the Lalita Sahasranam. It is also there. It is so much to say in the short time. So I would encourage students and attendees to join the both of the courses.
And not to speak of the beautiful 9 compositions in Sanskrit of Muthuswami Dikshitar, the Navavarana Kritis, in which all the 9 avaranas of the Sri Chakra are covered, all the technicalities, who are the yoginis, everything is covered in those 9 beautiful compositions. That is something that we can consider that study also as a sequel to the Lalita Sahasranama Sutra, Muthuswami Dikshitar's Navavarana Kriti compositions.
Yes, and I've added a link to the course in the chat, the days of the week, all right? Depending on your schedule, maybe one course is better, maybe depending on your preference for subject or faculty, whatever it is. This is where we're building a university so that we can offer these different ideas, courses, as part of a whole program, a paradigm. And so please take a look at the courses, right? Lalita Sahasranama is on Saturdays at 4 p.m. Eastern. It's going to start, the whole quarter for HOA is going to start April 13th or that week of. And Introduction to the Vedic Ritual of Sri Sri Aswaji is going to be on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, starting April 16th. So different courses, different times. Each faculty impressive in their own way and covering different subjects. So this is what we are doing at Hindu University of America. I am glad and proud to be a part of it. It is my pleasure to host these webinars. We have some more questions, but I think some of them are like specifics. We can get into it, and we are going to put, I'm going to take responsibility of putting some of this information in blog and written format so it's easily accessible. But of course, the best place to get it is in class because we have a learning management system. Each faculty uploads readings and videos, and during class you get to ask those interactive questions. This is a webinar, right? There's only 3 of us on screen. There's not so much interaction, but in the course, like a typical Zoom meeting with everyone, you get to interact, ask your questions, and both of these faculty, as you saw today, answer questions, get engaged, are happy to teach and engage. We got Shashikanchi from San Francisco who has their hand raised, and I think we have some students of yours already. I see Belaji, she wrote a nice testimonial. If you can raise your hand and you want to unmute and say something as a previous student, I can do that. So Shashikanji, you have your hand raised. Do you want to say something? And there's still some more questions in the Q&A box. I don't know if either of you, I think some of you started typing answers, right? Champaji asked, at what age is Samvartana educational performed, right? And Srishasoji, you started responding to that. So that's a little, there's a lot of things going on. We're only at 10:03. I do see Bella's hand raised. So let me go to her, and then we can figure out how to take on whichever questions come up. All right, Bellaji, you are able to unmute. Yes, please share.
Okay. Thank you, Ankurji, and thank you, Ashwatji and Acharyaji, for such a wonderful presentation. We'll definitely enroll in the course. And I just wanted to say for anybody attending the webinar today, I've taken a Vishnu Sahasranam course with Acharyaji, and for me as a very beginner with no previous knowledge of Sanskrit, I thought, but I was curious because I would hear so much about Vishnu Sahasranam, the benefits about reciting, and I wanted to get into this learning. So when I did the course, and I'm like surprised with myself, the way the courses are taught at Hindu University, I've always been able to use that knowledge and in my ongoing learning. So I've been reciting the Vishnu Sahasranam for 1 year now, more than a year now, daily, on a daily basis. And I'm like wondering, like with no previous knowledge of Sanskrit, with no confidence in reciting any mantras, I've not done that before. So this is really wonderful that I'm able to do this and getting better every day. So thank you so much. I really appreciate and very interested in Aswaji's course. You gave a very thorough explanation of her daily chanting and all. So looking forward to the course. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Acharyaji.
Thank you so much, Belaji. it was you who put all your effort in the learning, and we are just here to guide you. Thank you so much for your
Definitely,
kind
it was
words.
your help on how you broke it down step by step and made sure that every student in the class is able to recite the mantras. So that helped too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful. I love it. Belaji, we're going to follow up and try to get that testimonial reproduced and shared. Amazing. Asha ji, Asha Pillai, Dr. Pillai, board member of HUA. You are unmuted. Glad to have you on. Thank you for being here.
Namaste, Sarve. Acharya ji and Sri Ashwati, both. I had the privilege of taking both classes that are being discussed today last year, and I have to say I've been doing, as I mentioned, Lalita Sahasranama for several years, and yet Acharya ji's course was really so important to help deepen the practice. This last year has been so much more powerful for me. So it was a wonderful course. I learned so many of the mistakes I was making also, how to correct. And then Sri Ashwatji's course, all of the Nitya Karmas and all those were much more clear to me after that course. So there's always so much for us to learn. It's an ocean. And when we feel overwhelmed, it's so helpful to have outstanding faculty who can guide us with experience, experiential understanding as well, and also the philosophy that we often miss in the taking up the practice ourselves. So I just want to encourage everyone on the in the webinar to take the class and recommend to others. It's absolutely fantastic. One last point, all of the members of the first class are waiting for the second class from Mrityunjay ji, and we're hoping we have enough attendance to be able to put together a second level class. So I'll stop there.
And even if attendees or anyone joins into second part, they will be able to learn first part also. We will cover the first part of Lalita Sahasranam. We are just went till, I believe, 80 slokas. We still have 10 more slokas to go. So they are welcome to join the second part, but we will design our course such a way that they can understand the previous shlokas, pronunciation and meaning, and the upcoming sloka.
Thank you both. You made it so such a change in our lives.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Pillai, for being on and supporting and taking courses. And that's what Hindu University of America is. It's not just a typical university, right? Our board members, I'm taking 2 courses right now. Kalyanji teaches and takes courses. And we're, again, building a Hindu platform to share this wisdom and knowledge across the world. And we do it on Zoom. It's easy. If you haven't taken a course, please enroll this quarter. Now's the time to get on board. Everything works. We got a support team. We can help you log in and all those other details. And we're getting better as we go. We have, thank you, Dr. Pillai, again.
Namaste.
Next, we have A.N. Mali. A.N. Mali ji, I can unmute you. And Shashikanji from San Francisco, whoever can unmute first. Shashikanji or A.N. Mali? Shashikanji, there you go.
Namaskar. It's wonderful to go through Sahasranam as well as Samskaras. I have put 2 questions, but I don't want you to discuss here because it will consume time, longer time. I've written about the open ceremony where kings Kshatriyas have to go for open rituals, and then they get opportunity to crown as a king. So that was my question. So let us see. And it's wonderful. Both of you are genuinely intellectual people, and I salute you. Thank you.
Thank you, Shashikanji.
Thank you.
Great. We got a technical question from GS_IP13, but he's asking, or they're asking, how long will each session go? It's going to be, each of these courses are 90-minute courses. Sometimes they go over, sometimes I don't think they go under. There's always so much conversation going on. So 90-minute classes. Each is, I think, 10 weeks. It'll be 11 weeks, depending on if there's a holiday. There'll be 10 sessions or 11 sessions. They're all recorded. They're accessible. If you miss a class, you can watch the recording. And each of these courses is a $200 course. And we have scholarships for Bharat, for Caribbean countries, for other countries, not America, not Europe, where the income levels are different. So we have specific scholarships for that. But it's a $200 course, each of these. And obviously, you're going to get much more than your investment out of it, especially if you spend the time, energy, brain power, and actually, as some of our students testified, can help in a lot of ways. Great. All right. I think we can come to a close. So I'll give each of you some closing thoughts, and if you want to do a mantra or a shloka or something, I'm pleased. And again, always my pleasure. We've been trying this, having two different faculty, because we have so many courses. We don't have enough time to do webinars for everyone. How would it work? And thank you both for being a part of this, working together. I think the audience, if you like this kind of model where we have two different faculty, depending on the subject, you can send that in, and going forward, we can carry it forward. But I thought this was great. And I'm, again, glad to do this. Thank you for stepping in and doing this. And to each of you, I will give closing thoughts, statements. Whoever wants to go first can start.
I think A.N. Maliji has been waiting, so let's take his question. Yes, please.
Okay. He has to unmute, A.N. Mali. That's why I kind of went through. Maybe they're away. Maybe they raise their hand. Okay, A.N. Mali, last chance. Next time.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so who is going to go first? Last. Closing thoughts.
It was a great pleasure, attending and staying with this webinar, listening to Sri Ashwath ji, and always pleasure to see Ankur ji's energy and how he's been a very great pillar of this university. So thank you so much for all the participants who took their precious time, spend their time with us. It is Saturday. You have many other things to catch up and do. You could have rested, but you decided to join this webinar. Thank you so much for that. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kashit dukha bhag bhavet. Word sarva meaning sarve bhavantu sukhinah, may all be happy. Sarve santu niramayah, sarve santu niramayah meaning may all be disease free, illness free. And the illness or disease is not just in the body, they are in the mind. So those should be also free. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu, may all see good in everything, because there going to be mixture of things. We please bless the Bhagwan that our drashti, our vision should always find the good in everything. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kashit, not even one person should be in trouble, in misery. So please bless us all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Acharya has said everything that is proper. And then with that, Hari Om, Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Thank you very much.
Namaste, everyone. Thank you.